Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Blake. Do you ever feel nervous speaking English in front of others? Maybe in class, at work, or even at social events? You're not alone. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to speak English confidently in public. By the end of this episode, you'll have some useful tips to sound more confident and natural when speaking English. But first, let me ask you a few questions. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to speak English, but you felt unsure about what to say? Or maybe you've been practicing English for a while, but when it's time to speak in front of others, you freeze up? How did that make you feel? It's completely normal to feel nervous sometimes. The good news is, confidence can be built with practice. And today, we're going to help you do just that. In this episode, I'll share real-life stories, tips, and examples to help you become more confident in speaking English. And remember, this channel is all about improving your English every day, so make sure to press that like button if you enjoy this episode. Now, let's get started. Let me tell you a story about my friend, David. David moved to the United States from Spain a few years ago. At first, he was really shy about speaking English in front of people. He would often stay quiet in meetings, at work, even when he had important ideas to share. He was afraid of making mistakes. But one day something changed. He realized that making mistakes was a part of learning, and he decided to start speaking more, even if he wasn't perfect. Slowly, he started speaking more confidently at work and in social situations. People started to notice, and his confidence grew each day. David learned that one of the best ways to build confidence is by speaking as much as possible, whether it's with friends, at work, or even practicing in front of a mirror. The more you practice, the more confident you become. And don't worry about making mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes when they're learning something new. It's a natural part of the process. Another way to feel more confident is by preparing. If you know you'll need to speak in English in a meeting or with a group of people, take some time to plan what you want to say. For example, let's say you're going to a meeting at work. You could write down the key points you want to make and practice them out loud. When you have a plan, you'll feel more prepared and less nervous. Now, let's talk about body language. When you stand up straight, make eye contact, and smile, you'll not only feel more confident, but others will also see you as more confident. Good body language can make a huge difference when you're speaking in public. Just like David, who used to hide in the back of the room during meetings, once he started standing up straighter and looking at people when he spoke, he felt more powerful and in control. Here's a tip I use personally. Before you speak in public, take a few deep breaths. It helps calm your nerves and gives you a moment to collect your thoughts. If you're feeling nervous, you can even count to 3 before speaking. This simple trick can make you feel more in control and less anxious. Lastly, remember that confidence grows with experience. The more you practice speaking English in different situations, the easier it becomes. It's important to push yourself out of your comfort zone, even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first. But with time, you'll notice how much easier it becomes to speak confidently in public. Let's continue building on that idea of confidence in speaking English. Now, I want to share another story with you. This one is about my colleague, Sarah. Sarah had to give presentations in English as part of her job. In the beginning, she felt very nervous. She would shake and even forget what she wanted to say. But she realized that a lot of her nervousness came from the fear of being judged by others. Over time, Sarah decided to focus on the message she was trying to share rather than worrying about how perfect her English was. The more she focused on what she wanted to say and less on her fear of mistakes, the better she became. One of the things Sarah did to feel more confident was to practice in front of a mirror. This helped her see how she looked when she spoke, and it gave her a chance to improve her body language. If you've never tried practicing in front of a mirror, I highly recommend it. You'll be able to see how your body moves when you speak, and you can make adjustments to improve your posture and gestures. Sarah said this made a huge difference because she could see how confident or nervous she looked. It helped her work on her delivery, so her message came across clearly. Another tip Sarah gave me was to speak slowly. When we're nervous, we tend to speak quickly, and that can make us sound less confident. But when you slow down your speech, it not only helps you think more clearly, but it also makes you sound more confident. Try it next time you speak in English. Slow down, take your time, and notice how much more in control you feel. One more important point is to listen to others who speak English confidently. This is something Sarah did too. She listened to people around her who spoke clearly and confidently, and she learned a lot from them. She paid attention to their tone, their pace, and how they structured their sentences. Listening to others is a great way to improve your own speaking skills. It's like learning from role models. You can even repeat what they say to practice and get a feel for how to speak confidently. When you're practicing speaking, it's also important to remember that it's okay to pause. Many learners are afraid of pauses because they think it makes them sound uncertain. But in reality, pauses are a powerful tool. They give you time to think about what to say next, and they can actually make you sound more confident. Imagine you're in a conversation and you stop for a moment to think. This pause shows that you're thoughtful and in control, rather than rushing through your words. So, next time you speak, don't be afraid of taking a brief pause. It can really make a difference in how you come across to others. Now, let's talk about something really important: mistakes. Everyone makes them, even native speakers. The key is to not let mistakes stop you from speaking. I want to tell you about a time I made a mistake in a public presentation. I was nervous, and I said the wrong word. But instead of getting embarrassed, I smiled and kept going. People appreciated that I didn't let it stop me, and they actually respected me more for continuing confidently. It's important to remember that making mistakes is part of learning, and how you handle them is what matters. So, next time you make a mistake, try to laugh it off and keep going. If you can stay calm and confident, your listeners will stay calm too. Mistakes won't affect your overall message as long as you keep moving forward. Also, think about why you're learning English in the first place. Are you learning to talk to new people, to get a better job, or to travel the world? Whatever your reason, remember that every time you speak, you're one step closer to your goal. That's something to be proud of. So, when you feel nervous, remind yourself why you're learning and keep that goal in mind. That can help you push through any doubts you might have. To wrap this up, I want you to remember that speaking English confidently takes time, but every step you take, no matter how small, is progress. Whether it's practicing in front of a mirror, listening to others, or making mistakes and learning from them, you're on the right path. Let's dive even deeper into how you can speak English confidently in public. I want to share with you a few more tips, techniques, and real-life examples that will help you feel more comfortable and sure of yourself when speaking in front of others. As we go through this, remember, it's all about taking small steps and practicing regularly to improve over time. So here's the first thing that can really help you build confidence in public speaking. Know your topic well. When you have a clear understanding of what you're talking about, you won't feel as nervous because you'll know you have something valuable to share. Let's say you're at work and you have to speak about a project you've been working on. The more you know about that project, the more confident you'll feel when it's time to talk about it. I had a colleague named Michael who was always so calm when giving presentations at work. One day, I asked him how he stayed so confident. He told me that it wasn't magic, but simply knowing his topic really well. He explained that he spent time researching and understanding every aspect of the presentation before speaking in front of others. He knew what to say and when to say it. This knowledge gave him confidence because he didn't have to worry about forgetting anything. Instead, he focused on delivering the message clearly. This is something you can start doing too. Before you speak, take some time to gather information about the topic. Whether it's for a meeting, a class, or even talking to friends, knowing the topic inside and out will make you feel much more in control. You won't be searching for words or worrying about sounding unprepared. Now, let's move on to another very important tip. Relaxing your body. It's easy to get tense when you're nervous, and this can affect how you speak. Your voice might become shaky, or you might rush through your words. But did you know that your body plays a huge role in how confident you sound? When your body is relaxed, you'll sound more calm and confident too. Take a moment to think about your posture. When you stand or sit up straight, you naturally feel more powerful. This is because body language can influence how you feel about yourself. One of the first things I learned when I started speaking more in public was to stand tall with my shoulders back. It made me feel more confident right away. I also made sure to make eye contact with people when I spoke. It might sound simple, but good posture and eye contact can make a huge difference in how others see you. And trust me, when others see you as confident, you'll feel more confident too. Here's a story about my friend Lisa, who used to be afraid to speak in public. She would slouch and avoid making eye contact, which made her seem unsure. After a few weeks of practicing good posture and eye contact, she told me that she felt a big difference. People started paying more attention to her, and her confidence grew. She became much better at speaking, simply because she was taking care of her body language. This is something you can start doing immediately. Next time you speak in English, try standing or sitting up straight and make sure to look at the person you're speaking to. It will change the way you feel and the way others see you. Moving on, let's talk about speaking slowly and clearly. When we're nervous, we often speak too quickly, but rushing through your words can make it harder for others to understand you, and it can make you sound less confident. One trick that helps is to intentionally slow down your speech. It's something I practice every day, especially when I know I'll be speaking in front of a group. By slowing down, I not only sound more confident, but I also have more time to think about what I want to say next. I remember a few months ago, I was speaking at a workshop, and I could feel myself getting nervous. I was about to speed up and talk too quickly, but then I remembered a tip I learned: slow down. So I took a deep breath and started speaking more slowly. It felt strange at first, but after a few minutes I realized that I wasn't just speaking more clearly, I was also more relaxed. The slower pace gave me control over my words, and it helped me feel more confident. This is something you can try too. When you speak English, make an effort to speak a little slower than usual. You'll be surprised at how much more confident you feel when you take your time. And remember, speaking slowly doesn't mean speaking in a boring way. You can still speak with energy and enthusiasm. It's all about finding a balance between being clear and being engaging. Another powerful tip is visualizing success. Before you speak, take a moment to imagine yourself speaking confidently. Picture yourself in front of an audience or in a conversation, speaking clearly and confidently. This mental preparation can really help reduce anxiety and improve your performance. For example, when I have an important meeting or presentation coming up, I always take a few minutes beforehand to imagine myself speaking confidently. I picture myself standing tall, smiling, and communicating my ideas clearly. This mental preparation helps me feel more ready and less anxious. It's like getting yourself into the right mindset before the real thing. Try this next time you need to speak in English. Close your eyes for a moment, take a few deep breaths, and visualize yourself speaking confidently. This simple exercise can make a big difference in how you feel before you speak. One of the most important things to remember is that it's okay to make mistakes. It's natural to feel nervous about making mistakes, especially when you're speaking in public. But I want you to know that mistakes are a normal part of learning. No one speaks perfectly all the time. In fact, the more you speak and make mistakes, the better you'll get. I had a friend named John who was terrified of making mistakes. He would avoid speaking in English altogether because he didn't want to say anything wrong. But one day, he realized that he was holding himself back by being afraid of making mistakes. So he decided to embrace mistakes as part of the learning process. Now, John speaks more confidently than ever, and he doesn't worry about making mistakes. Instead, he focuses on getting his message across and enjoying the conversation. I encourage you to do the same. When you make a mistake, don't get discouraged. Instead, laugh it off, correct yourself if necessary, and keep going. The more you do this, the more comfortable you'll feel, and the more confident you'll become. Lastly, I want to remind you that confidence comes with practice. It's not something that happens overnight, but with consistent effort, you will see improvement. So, take every opportunity to practice speaking English. Talk to your friends, speak with your colleagues, practice in front of a mirror, and even record yourself speaking. The more you practice, the more natural and confident you will become. Let's continue diving into how you can build even more confidence while speaking English in public. As we go along, I'm going to share more practical tips, examples from real life, and some mindset changes that can help you feel more in control when you speak. Remember, speaking confidently takes practice, and each time you do it, you get one step closer to becoming a fluent English speaker. So, let's take this journey together and learn how to approach public speaking with more ease. First, let's talk about preparation. A lot of the time, we feel nervous or unsure when speaking in public because we haven't prepared properly. We might have an idea of what we want to say, but we haven't really organized our thoughts. One way to reduce anxiety is to take some time to plan and structure what you're going to say. You don't need to write everything word for word, but having an outline of key points can make a huge difference. I remember when I first started presenting at work. I would have ideas swirling in my head, but I had trouble putting them together in a way that made sense. One day, my manager gave me a great piece of advice. Create a structure, and your confidence will follow. At first, I thought it sounded too simple, but I decided to give it a try. I broke down my presentation into 3 parts: an introduction, a main section, and a conclusion. I wrote down the key points for each part. This simple structure gave me more clarity. And when I presented, I felt more confident because I had a clear roadmap of what to say. So, when you're preparing for a conversation or a public speech, in English, don't just go in with a blank mind. Jot down your main ideas and organize them logically. It could be a bullet point list or just a few sentences that outline your thoughts. Doing this will give you confidence because you won't be fumbling for words. Instead, you'll have a clear direction and will be able to focus on delivering your message smoothly. Another helpful trick for gaining confidence in public speaking is starting small. Sometimes we make the mistake of thinking we have to be perfect right away, but that's not true at all. The best way to build your confidence is by starting with smaller opportunities and gradually working your way up to bigger challenges. Let me tell you a story about my friend Sarah. She was always nervous about speaking English in front of others, especially in meetings at work. At first, she would barely say anything, and when she did, her voice would tremble. But she didn't let that stop her. Sarah decided to start small. Instead of jumping into big meetings, she began by speaking up in smaller group discussions, or even just saying a few words to her colleagues. Over time, she gained more confidence in those smaller situations, and eventually, she felt ready to speak in larger meetings. Today, she's known for her clear, confident speaking skills, all because she started small and worked her way up. You can do the same. Begin with smaller opportunities to speak English in front of others. Maybe it's speaking with a friend or family member, or sharing your ideas in a small group. Once you feel comfortable doing that, gradually take on bigger challenges. Before long, speaking in public won't feel as intimidating. You'll have the confidence to speak up no matter the situation. Another key factor in speaking confidently is maintaining a positive mindset. Our thoughts can have a huge impact on how we feel and how we perform. If we go into a conversation or presentation thinking, I'm going to mess up, that's usually what happens. But if we believe in ourselves and think, I can do this, we're more likely to succeed. The power of positive thinking is not just a motivational phrase, it's real. For example, let me tell you about a time I was preparing for a big presentation. The night before, I was feeling nervous. I kept thinking about all the things that could go wrong, forgetting my words, losing my place, or speaking too quickly. But then I decided to change my mindset. Instead of focusing on what might go wrong, I started thinking about what I could do well. I reminded myself that I had prepared, that I knew my material, and that I was capable. The next day, I walked into the room with a positive attitude, and it made all the difference. The presentation went smoothly, and I felt much more confident than I expected. So, when you're about to speak in public, remind yourself of the positive things. Think about your strengths and what you can offer. A positive mindset can change everything. Along with this, it's also helpful to practice regularly. Confidence doesn't come from doing something once and hoping for the best. It comes from practicing as much as you can. The more you practice speaking in English, the more comfortable you will become. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn and improve. A great way to practice is by speaking out loud, even if no one is around to listen. You can practice in front of a mirror, or you can record yourself speaking. I used to practice by talking about my day in English, even when I was just at home by myself. I would describe what I was doing, how I felt, or what I was planning to do. It felt a little strange at first, but over time, it helped me get used to speaking without feeling nervous. The key here is to practice regularly, even if it's just for a few minutes a day. The more you speak, the more confident you'll feel. Eventually, you won't need to practice as much because speaking English will feel natural and easy. Let's also talk about active listening. It might sound strange to say that listening helps with speaking, but it's true. The more you listen to others speak English, the more you'll learn how to speak confidently. When you listen to people speaking, whether it's in a conversation, a podcast, or even a TV show, you're absorbing how they use words, phrases, and expressions. This will help you sound more natural when you speak. For example, I listen to a lot of podcasts in English. One of my favorite things to do is pay attention to how the speakers express themselves. I listen to the words they use, the way they pause, and how they stress certain words. I take mental notes, and the next time I speak, I try to use some of the techniques I heard. This helps me sound more confident and natural, just like the people I listen to. So, try to spend time listening to English speakers, whether it's through podcasts, conversations, or other media. Take note of how they speak, and then try to incorporate some of those techniques into your own speaking. The more you listen, the more you'll pick up, and the more confident you'll sound. Another great tip is to find a speaking partner. Having someone to practice with can make a huge difference. A speaking partner can be a friend, family member, or even someone you meet online. You don't need to have a perfect partner, just someone who is willing to practice with you. I have a friend named Tom, and he and I practiced speaking together for months before I started feeling truly confident. We would chat about different topics in English, and I would get feedback from him. Sometimes we'd talk about simple things, like the weather, or our plans for the weekend. Other times we would have more in-depth conversations, Having a speaking partner was incredibly helpful because it gave me a safe space to practice without judgment. If you don't have someone to practice with, try reaching out to other learners in English learning communities. There are lots of online groups where you can find speaking partners. Practice with them as much as possible. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're there to help you improve, and you can help them too. Now, let's continue building on these ideas to help you become a more confident English speaker in public. Remember, gaining confidence is a gradual process, but with each step you take, you'll notice big improvements. Let's keep exploring some additional tips, stories, and examples that can really help you speak English with more confidence. If you practice these regularly, you will see how much easier it becomes to express yourself in front of others. One important part of speaking confidently is your body language. Did you know that your body language can impact how confident you feel when speaking? It's not just about what you say, but also how you carry yourself. When you stand or sit with good posture, it not only makes you appear more confident to others, but it can also help you feel more confident yourself. For instance, when I started presenting at work, I noticed that I would hunch my shoulders and avoid making eye contact with the audience. I would feel small and uncertain. Then, one day, a colleague gave me some advice. She said, "Blake, when you're speaking, stand tall and make eye contact. It makes you look and feel more confident." At first, I didn't believe it would make much of a difference, but I decided to try it. The next time I gave a presentation, I made a conscious effort to stand tall, smile, and maintain eye contact. I noticed right away that I felt more in control and that the audience responded positively. Your body language can make a big difference in how others perceive you and how you feel while speaking. Try to stand up straight, avoid crossing your arms, and make eye contact with people when you speak. This will help you feel more confident and show others that you are confident too. Let's talk about another tip: focusing on your message rather than your nerves. It's easy to get caught up in worrying about how we sound or how others might judge us, but this often makes our nerves worse. One effective way to deal with nervousness is to shift your focus away from yourself and onto your message. Instead of thinking, "What will people think of me?" try thinking, "What important message do I want to share with my audience?" Let me share an example. A while back, I had to give a speech at a conference. As soon as I stepped up to the podium, my nerves kicked in and I started thinking, what if I mess up? What if they don't like what I'm saying? But then I remembered a piece of advice I had read somewhere. Focus on the message, not the nerves. I took a deep breath, reminded myself of the value of what I was about to share. And suddenly, the nervousness started to fade. Instead of worrying about myself, I started thinking about how I could help the audience understand the topic. The more I focused on delivering the information clearly, the more my confidence grew. By the end of the speech, I was feeling great, and the audience responded well. So, when you're speaking, try to focus on what you want to communicate rather than on how you think you're doing. Remember that your message is important, and the more you concentrate on sharing that message, the more confident you will feel. Let's also talk about the importance of practicing with real-life situations. One way to gain confidence is to practice speaking in real-life situations as much as possible. This helps you get used to the pressure of speaking in front of others and gives you more experience. You can start by practicing in everyday situations, like ordering food at a restaurant, asking for directions, or chatting with a friend. A great example of this comes from my friend John. John was really shy about speaking English, and he always avoided situations where he had to talk to strangers. However, he decided to change that. He started practicing by ordering his coffee in English at the local cafe. At first, he felt nervous, but he stuck with it. He didn't worry too much about making mistakes. Over time, he became more comfortable and even started holding short conversations with the baristas. Eventually, John began practicing in other real-life situations, like asking for directions in English. With each conversation, he grew more confident in his speaking skills. So, try to practice in real-life situations as much as you can. It could be as simple as asking someone for directions, making small talk with a colleague, or even just saying hello to someone in English. The more you practice in real-world situations, the more confident you will feel when speaking in front of larger groups. Another tip is to use positive affirmations. You might be surprised at how powerful your words can be when you speak to yourself in a positive way. If you constantly tell yourself, "I can't do this," or "I'm not good enough," it's no wonder that you feel nervous or unsure when speaking in public. But if you start using positive affirmations, it can really help change your mindset. For example, before a presentation, I used to feel anxious and worried about how I would perform. But then, I decided to try using affirmations. I would say to myself, "I am a confident speaker. I am prepared. I can do this." Every time I felt nervous, I would repeat these words in my head. Over time, these affirmations became a part of my routine. Now, when I speak in public, I remind myself of these positive thoughts, and they help calm my nerves. You can do the same. Before you speak in front of others, repeat some positive affirmations to yourself. Tell yourself that you're capable and ready. It may sound simple, but it can be a game changer when it comes to building confidence. One more thing to consider is the power of taking pauses. When you're speaking, you don't have to rush through your words. In fact, taking pauses can make you sound more confident and in control. Pausing for a moment to collect your thoughts can help you speak more clearly and thoughtfully, and it gives your audience time to absorb what you're saying. I used to be afraid of silence when speaking. I thought that if I paused, people would think I didn't know what I was talking about. But after watching some skilled public speakers, I realized that pauses are actually an important tool in communication. They help create emphasis and give the speaker a moment to breathe and gather their thoughts. When I started using pauses in my own speaking, I found that I felt much more confident, and my audience appreciated the moments of silence. It made my words more powerful and allowed me to communicate more effectively. So, don't be afraid to pause when speaking. Take your time and use those pauses to help you gather your thoughts and deliver your message clearly. The more you practice pausing, the more confident you will feel in your ability to speak. Finally, let's talk about getting feedback. It's important to get feedback from others so that you can improve. If you're nervous about speaking, sometimes it's hard to see your own progress. But when someone gives you constructive feedback, it can help you see what you're doing well and where you can improve. For example, after my first big presentation, I asked a colleague for feedback. He told me that I did a great job with the content, but I could improve my delivery by speaking a bit slower and pausing more often. At first, I felt a little bit discouraged, but then I realized that the feedback was helpful. It gave me something specific to work on for next time. After incorporating his suggestions, I felt even more confident in my next presentation. Now that we've covered some essential tips and strategies to boost your confidence when speaking English in public, let's dive even deeper into how you can continue to improve and make the most out of every speaking opportunity. Remember, speaking confidently is a skill that develops with time, and each practice session gets you one step closer to achieving your goals. Let's explore more practical advice, stories, and tips to help you build your confidence in speaking English. First, let's talk about the power of preparation. If you want to speak confidently in public, one of the best things you can do is be prepared. When you know your material inside and out, it's much easier to speak with confidence. This is true whether you're giving a speech, a presentation, or just having a casual conversation in English. For example, last year I had to give a workshop for a large group at a company conference. The thought of speaking in front of so many people made me feel nervous, but I decided to put in extra effort to prepare. I practiced my speech several times in front of a mirror, recorded myself, and listened to the recordings. This gave me the chance to notice things I could improve, such as the tone of my voice and where I was rushing through certain points. When the day of the workshop came, I was surprised at how calm and confident I felt. Because I had prepared so thoroughly, I didn't need to worry about forgetting important details. I could focus on delivering my message with confidence. Preparation doesn't have to be stressful. Start by knowing the key points you want to make. Practice speaking out loud and try to rehearse in different settings. This will help you feel more relaxed and ready when it's time to speak in public. Now, let's focus on the importance of speaking slowly and clearly. When we're nervous, we tend to speak faster without realizing it. This can make it harder for others to understand us and can also make us feel more rushed. Speaking slowly doesn't mean you have to talk in a monotonous way. Instead, it means taking your time to pronounce each word clearly and allowing pauses between your thoughts. I remember when I first started giving presentations in English, I was so nervous that I would speed through my words, trying to finish quickly. But this only made me feel more anxious, and the audience had trouble keeping up. After getting some feedback from a mentor, I learned to slow down and take my time with each sentence. I started pausing after each point to let the audience absorb the information. Over time, I noticed that speaking more slowly actually helped me sound more confident, and the audience appreciated it as well. They were able to follow my ideas better, and I was able to express myself more clearly. If you find yourself speaking too quickly, try this. Before you speak, take a deep breath. When you start talking, focus on making sure each word is clear. This will help both you and your listeners feel more comfortable. Let's also talk about the importance of making mistakes and learning from them. Many people worry about making mistakes when speaking English, but it's completely normal to make mistakes, and in fact, it's an important part of the learning process. Mistakes are not a sign of failure. They are an opportunity to grow and improve. The more you embrace mistakes, the more confident you will become. For example, during my early days of learning English, I made a lot of mistakes when speaking. I would mix up words, forget sentences, and sometimes even mispronounce basic vocabulary. But instead of feeling embarrassed, I chose to laugh at myself and learn from each mistake. I started recording myself speaking and listened to the recordings to identify areas where I could improve. Over time, I noticed that I was making fewer mistakes, and I felt much more comfortable speaking. You can adopt the same mindset. Every time you make a mistake, see it as a learning opportunity. If you mispronounce a word, try saying it correctly the next time. If you don't understand something, ask for clarification. This willingness to make mistakes and learn from them will help you gain confidence as you continue to practice. Another valuable tip is practicing with others. Speaking English in front of a mirror or by yourself can be helpful, but practicing with other people is where the real magic happens. When you practice with others, you get to experience the flow of real conversations, and you'll learn how to handle different speaking situations. Plus, it's a great way to receive feedback and make adjustments in real time. A great example of this is my friend Sarah. Sarah used to be very shy when speaking English, but she found a group of language learners online who would practice together regularly. At first, she felt nervous and uncertain, but she pushed herself to participate. Over time, she became more comfortable speaking and even started initiating conversations. Her confidence grew because she was practicing with others who were supportive and understanding. She learned from their feedback, and they learned from hers. It was a win-win situation. If you can, find a language partner or join a group where you can practice speaking English regularly. The more you interact with others, the more confident you'll become in real-life situations. Let's also discuss the importance of positive reinforcement and setting small goals. Building confidence in English isn't something that happens overnight, but it is a process. One of the most effective ways to stay motivated is to set small, achievable goals along the way. These goals can be as simple as introducing yourself in English to a stranger, giving a short presentation, or speaking for 5 minutes without feeling too nervous. For instance, I remember when I first started working on my public speaking skills, I set a small goal. I wanted to speak in front of a small group of colleagues for 5 minutes without feeling overwhelmed. It wasn't easy, but I worked hard to prepare, and when I finally did it, I felt amazing. Reaching that small goal gave me a sense of accomplishment and motivated me to keep going. Building confidence in public speaking, especially in English, is a journey that requires persistence, practice, and patience. It's completely normal to feel nervous or unsure at first, but with every effort you make, your skills and confidence will grow. Let's explore even deeper strategies and real-life examples that will help you speak more confidently and naturally in public. Let's start by talking about the role of body language. When you speak in front of an audience, your body language speaks just as loudly as your words. If you stand with your shoulders slumped or your arms crossed, it can send a message of insecurity or discomfort. On the other hand, open and confident body language can instantly make you appear more approachable and sure of yourself. For instance, when I first started giving presentations, I noticed that I was often nervous and would fidget with my hands or shuffle my feet. My posture wasn't great, and I looked less confident than I actually was. But over time, I learned to stand tall, keep my arms relaxed at my sides, and make eye contact with the audience. These simple adjustments made a huge difference. I felt more powerful and engaged, and I noticed that the audience responded better as well. Body language can be a powerful tool to help you feel more confident and connect with your listeners. When you stand tall, take deep breaths, and maintain eye contact, your audience will not only listen to what you say, but also feel your confidence. So, the next time you speak in public, focus on your body language. Stand up straight, smile, and don't be afraid to use hand gestures to emphasize important points. It's a great way to show that you're in control and confident in your message. Next, let's discuss how practicing mindfulness can help you stay calm. One of the biggest barriers to confident speaking is nervousness, but mindfulness exercises can help you manage that anxiety. Mindfulness is all about staying present in the moment and not letting your mind wander into negative or stressful thoughts. It can help you focus on the task at hand, speaking without getting distracted by fears about making mistakes. I remember a time when I was about to give a big speech to a room full of colleagues. I was feeling extremely anxious and began to worry about everything that could go wrong. But before I stepped up to the podium, I decided to take a few deep breaths and focus on the present moment. I closed my eyes for just a second, took a deep breath in, and exhaled slowly. This simple act helped me feel more centered and ready to speak. Mindfulness doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as taking a few seconds to breathe deeply, relax your muscles, and focus on the task in front of you. Whether you're speaking in front of a large audience or having a conversation with a group of friends, mindfulness can help you manage nervousness and stay calm and focused. Let's talk about the power of storytelling. When you speak publicly, one of the most effective ways to connect with your audience is through storytelling. People love stories. They're memorable, engaging, and they help make your message more relatable. When you share personal stories or real-life experiences, your listeners are more likely to connect with you on a deeper level. For example, I once attended a leadership seminar where the speaker shared a personal story about a time when he had to overcome a challenge at work. His story wasn't just informative, it was inspiring. By sharing his own experiences, he was able to make the audience feel as though they were on the journey with him. His storytelling made the content more engaging and helped us all feel more connected. You can do the same. When you speak in public, try to incorporate stories that relate to your message. Share moments from your own life where you learned something important or overcame a challenge. Not only will this make your speech more interesting, but it will also help your audience see you as a real person, not just someone reading from a script. People remember stories far better than facts and figures, so use them to your advantage. Another powerful strategy is to engage your audience. Public speaking isn't just about delivering information, It's also about creating a conversation. The best speakers know how to interact with their audience. They ask questions, respond to reactions, and involve listeners in the process. This engagement makes your presentation feel more like a dialogue rather than a monologue. For example, when I give a talk or presentation, I like to ask my audience questions or share relatable scenarios. I might ask, has anyone ever felt nervous before speaking in public? Or, how do you prepare for important meetings? These questions create a sense of involvement and make the audience feel like they are part of the conversation. It also helps you gauge their reactions and adjust your delivery accordingly. You can use this technique too. Think of ways to ask questions or involve your listeners during your speaking time. This will keep them engaged and make your presentation feel more natural. Plus, it will give you the chance to interact with your audience, making the experience more enjoyable for both you and them. Let's discuss another important point: managing your voice. Your voice is one of your most powerful tools when speaking publicly. How you use it can make a huge difference in how confident you appear. This includes volume, pitch, and speed. Speaking in a clear, controlled voice is a sign of confidence, while speaking too softly or too quickly may suggest nervousness or uncertainty. When I first started speaking in public, I noticed that I often spoke too quietly or rushed through my words. This made it difficult for people to understand me, and it didn't help me come across as confident. Over time, I learned to control my voice better. I practiced speaking at a steady pace, ensuring that my voice was clear and loud enough for everyone to hear. I also varied my pitch to keep the audience engaged. By consciously managing my voice, I was able to appear more confident and keep the audience interested. If you struggle with your voice, try recording yourself speaking and listening to the playback. This will help you identify areas where you may be speaking too quietly or too fast. You can then practice adjusting your volume and speed until you feel more comfortable with your voice. Another strategy is to practice speaking in front of a mirror. This might sound a little old-fashioned, but it's a great way to improve your speaking skills. When you speak in front of a mirror, you can watch your body language, facial expressions, and gestures. This helps you become more aware of how you present yourself and allows you to make adjustments in real time. For example, when I was preparing for a big presentation, I spent time speaking in front of a mirror. I noticed that I had a tendency to look down a lot, which made me appear unsure. I worked on making more eye contact with my reflection and using my hands to emphasize key points. This made a big difference in how I felt during the actual presentation. It helped me feel more confident and present. Try practicing in front of a mirror before your next speaking opportunity. Pay attention to how you look and make small adjustments. You might be surprised by how much more confident you feel once you start practicing this way. Let's not forget the importance of relaxation techniques. When we get nervous, our bodies tend to tense up, which can make us feel even more anxious. Learning how to relax your body before speaking can help you stay calm and composed. For example, before I give any public speech, I always take a few minutes to do some light stretching. I focus on relaxing my shoulders and neck, which tend to hold a lot of tension. I also do a few breathing exercises to calm my mind. These simple techniques help me stay grounded and prevent the physical symptoms of nervousness, such as shaky hands or a racing heart. Incorporating relaxation techniques into your preparation can make a big difference in how confident you feel. Whether you stretch, meditate, or simply take deep breaths, find what works for you and make it a part of your pre-speaking routine. Lastly, let's talk about the importance of consistent practice. As with any skill, the more you practice speaking in English, the more confident you will become. It's important to practice regularly, whether you're speaking in front of an audience or just having casual conversations with friends or colleagues. Think of it like going to the gym. If you want to get stronger, you need to work out consistently. The same goes for public speaking. Every time you practice, whether it's through rehearsals, speaking with others, or delivering small talks, you're strengthening your speaking muscles. Over time, you'll notice that speaking in front of others becomes easier and more natural. Make it a goal to practice speaking in English every day. Whether you do it alone, with a friend, or in front of a mirror, the more you practice, the more confident you will feel. Remember, speaking confidently in public is a skill that takes time to develop. There's no need to rush the process. Keep practicing, stay patient with yourself, and trust that with each effort, you're building your confidence and becoming a more effective speaker.